You mentioned that forward line. That is the one I wanted to ask you about. And I know you wrote about it literally only the other day, the forward line. And obviously, Mo Salah didn't have his best of games by any means at the Carabao Cup final. But as you pointed out in that article, he's contributed to 51% of the goals this season, more than any other player for their club. I mean, it has at times that others have had streaks in different bits, but it has at times felt a little bit like Salah or no one, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So what I tried to put across in that article was that none of it was a slight on Salah, because he is human. He is allowed to have an off day. Yeah. It's just when he has an off day, who is there to take the game by the scruff of its neck? You look at Diogo Jota, you'd want more from him in terms of just going, you know what, we can tilt this game in our favour. And it feels like to me, when Salah has an off day, everyone else seems to have an off day as well. Apart from maybe, you look at them times when Núñez has come off the bench to win games late on. There was obviously Harvey Elliott in Paris came off and won the game. But aside from that, you don't really see Diaz maybe winning games on his own, whereas in the last title-winning team, if Salah had an off day, you had Sadio Mane to bang in the goals, or Roberto Firmino. Whereas now, I just think of them 6 forwards, how many of them are actually contributing what they should be contributing? And I don't think many when you look at Diaz, Núñez, Jota, Chiesa. As I said earlier, Gakpo's been injured, so it's hard to slate him for the last week. But if Salah doesn't turn up, it feels like none of them do. And it feels like that has to be an issue that Richard Hughes and Slot address this summer.
It is crazy that, as say, 12 points clear, how well they've done it in the league, 6 forwards, and maybe not Chiesa because he's played very limited minutes, but even he's had goals. All others have had streaks or purple patches. But literally, aside from Cody Gakpo, it seems, and there's different degrees of this, there is a few question marks against most of these forwards and whether they're at Anfield this season now, it feels, doesn't it, with the Núñez question, Diaz having a couple of years left to go. There is question marks across that forward line.
Yeah, definitely. I think as you say, aside from Cody Gakpo, 5 of the 6 have uncertain futures. So you've got Salah out of contract.
Yeah.
Núñez, very poor and linked away. Saudis are in for him. Seen a couple of links to Atletico as well. Diaz, obviously, Barcelona seem to be hot on him. Chiesa has hardly played. He's played less than half an hour in the Premier League. So aside from taking aside his decent cameo at Wembley, you have to say his future's uncertain as well. And Jota, he's not looked up to his usual self since he come back from that injury. And then you have to factor in how long can you rely on such an injury-prone player? So 5 of the 6 massive question marks. Obviously, in an ideal world, Salah will sign on, but that is still uncertain as we get into mid-March. So
yeah, it does seem insane we're talking about that. And we will talk about people, the contract question. Don't worry, we're going to grill Lewis on those as well. But trying to be, because people will naturally look for positives, and it's right to look for certain positives when you're 12 points clear at the top of the league. But transfer-wise, Lewis, you'll have seen the names. You'll have seen Alexander Isak at Newcastle, Julian Alvarez, the Argentinian Atletico forward, the latest one linked. What have you made of the links, and can you give us any insight if you think that there is definitely like 1, 2, a type of forward coming as well?
Yeah, well, I think the word that I've had in the last week or so is that it'll be maybe 4 or 5 signings this summer. I think it really will be a big summer for Liverpool. Wow. But that also includes 4 or 5 exits as well. So if you work through them, I would put my money on Núñez or Diaz leaving, maybe both. Obviously, I think Núñez is more certain than Diaz in that regard. I think you can say Kelleher will probably leave one of the fullbacks will probably leave. And then we have to wait and see what else happens in the forward line. But yeah, Isak, a lot of that depends on where Newcastle finish in the league, I think. I mean, it doesn't change the fact that obviously he is the hottest property in the Premier League right now, if not Europe. But are Liverpool really going to do 150 million on one player? And if so, what's the knock-on effect if they do 150 mil on him? How much money do they have to spend elsewhere? So there's a lot of ifs and buts. A lot of it depends on the contract free, whether they stay, because if Virgil leaves, they'll have to sign a centre half, etc., etc. Who's the other one? Julian Alvarez.
Yeah.
Again, Atletico signed him for, what was it, like 100 million euros last summer. So they're not going to sell him for anything under that, which is already a lot of money. Good player, but a very good player, in fact. He's got a great record at City and Atletico and Argentina. But it's whether he would want to leave Atletico after just 1 year and whether they would even go to the negotiating table for under 100 mil. So there's obviously plenty of different strikers out there that could do something. Cunha at Wolves, obviously.
Yeah.
I think there's a bit of a bidding war for him this summer. Whether Liverpool are one of them, we'll have to wait and see. But I know that a lot of top clubs are keeping tabs on him. And then there's a few on the continent. The lad at Frankfurt, that Etikike or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
I feel like Paul Merson when I can't pronounce the name. but yeah, there's lots of names out there. But as I keep saying, it does depend on who leaves as well. So it's going to be a lot of change, I think, this summer, but a lot of moving parts. So it's hard to say, yes, this will happen and that will happen. But I think it'll be a fun summer, definitely.
I was going to say, I think most people feel it this way. Does it come down to, before we can definitely say who's coming in, it's what happens for those three big ones on the free transfers by the end of May, isn't it? It's if people expect Trent to leave, that will define the picture. What happens with Virgil and Salah, everything flows from those three, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Because if Salah leaves, all of a sudden you've lost, 30-something goals and 20-something assists. You've lost, as that stat says there, you've lost half of your goals in the team. Yeah. And that is absolutely mental. And I genuinely don't think there's a player in Europe that can contribute those numbers to a team. So whatever happens, if Salah leaves, the new boy is a downgrade. Obviously, they can grow into the team, but it will be a downgrade. Saying that, I don't see that happening still, even though we are in mid-March. And then with Virgil, you lose not just the best defender in Europe, but arguably the best captain in Europe as well. Yeah. Who's the leader? You know, if they were, for example, penciling in signing a left back, I think Robertson is the second best leader in the squad. I know he's not the vice captain, but I just watch him, how he operates in the dressing room, and watch him, on the training pitch, and see him talking to the other lads in the mixer, and he just seems to be a real good character. That's why I would 100% keep Robertson, even if they sign a left back this summer. So yeah, it all depends on who goes, and we still don't really know what's going to happen with that. Obviously, we know Trent and Real Madrid have sort of been flirting a bit with each other, but he could still decide to stay at Liverpool. So there's a lot of if, buts and maybes, as I keep saying. But as I said earlier, it will be a mad summer, I think. Fun for you guys to follow, not so fun for me to have to write on.